Saturday. Coffee half warm, jazz humming from an old speaker. Elijah steps onto his porch and squints into the pale Georgia sun. A low hum cuts through the breeze. Hovering over his driveway is a small quadcopter stamped with a silver sticker, Civic Eye Property Integrity Program. The drone tilts, its camera focusing on the fence Naomi repainted last week. It scans the yard, the mailbox, the sidewalk chalk where 7-year-old Leah has drawn a purple sky and the word home in uneven letters. That afternoon, a white envelope arrives. Notice of noncompliance. Your property has failed aesthetic standards. Violation, inconsistent paint tone, visible clutter, unapproved surface art. Elijah laughs, short and dry. Surface art? They mean a child's drawing. Naomi's smile fades. They mean us. The notice bears the signature of Margaret Linville, president of the Westbridge Heights Homeowners Association. Margaret is 62, widow of a banker, famous for saying order is kindness made visible. At HOA meetings she sits beneath a framed poster reading uniformity preserves value. To her, data is the perfect referee. The HOA's new deal with Civic Eye promised objective enforcement through AI-assisted monitoring. No bias, no emotion, just algorithms. But objectivity, Elijah thinks, depends on what you choose to measure. When he emails for clarification, a Civic Eye bot replies. Our system evaluates imagery through unbiased pattern recognition. Please refer to Appendix C for compliance criteria. He scrolls through Appendix C, leaf height, mailbox color, fence hue tolerance plus or minus 2 RGB points. There's no category for children's art, yet somehow his yard failed the test. 2 days later, a knock on the door. A woman stands outside holding a notepad and a voice recorder. Mid-30s, brown skin, sharp eyes. I'm Amara Gwen, with Metro Voice. We're investigating Civic Eye's pilot program. Mind if I ask how many times the drones visited you? For that I know of, Elijah says. Maybe more while we sleep. Amara glances up. Another drone passes overhead, its lens glinting. They call it neutral oversight, she murmurs, but it only seems to fly over certain zip codes. Elijah folds his arms. You think it's racial? I think it's statistical, Amara replies. And statistics have a habit of pointing in the same direction as history. She looks around the porch, takes in the flag, the trimmed bushes, the chalk art now half washed by rain. May I tell your story? Elijah hesitates, then nods. Tell it right. That night Amara cross-checks public data. Her screen fills with heat maps. Drone flight density, 3.2 times higher in majority black neighborhoods. HOA citations, 42% higher for identical code violations. Complaint keywords, appearance, harmony, safety, most clustered south of Interstate 12. She whispers to herself, machines don't see color, but they learn it from the hands that feed them. In another tab she finds a name, Malcolm Ortiz, former Civic Eye data engineer. LinkedIn says he left 6 months ago. She sends a message. I'm investigating bias in property surveillance AI. You once trained its models. I need to know what you saw. Minutes later, the typing dots appear. Meet me where the drones can't listen, under the freeway, by the mural. Under the roar of late-night traffic, Malcolm Ortiz looks younger than his resume suggests, tired eyes, guilt heavy on his shoulders. We built Civic Eye to scan weeds and fences, he begins. But HOA clients upload their own training photos. Guess what neighborhoods they photograph most? Amara says nothing. She already knows. The AI learned that darker paint tones, metal mailboxes, and porches with flags or murals meant non-compliant. Not because it's racist, because the data was. He pulls a flash drive from his pocket. Model logs. Internal emails. Enough to prove it. Amara takes it carefully. Why now? He shrugs. Because my mother's yard got flagged last week. She cried over a mailbox. Thunder rolls overhead. Amara looks toward the horizon where the suburbs sleep, neat, identical, quiet. And somewhere above them, a drone blinks red, recording everything. Tuesday night, Westbridge Community Hall. Fluorescent lights buzz like anxious insects. Rows of folding chairs fill the room, the air smells of brewed coffee and fear of change. Margaret Linville stands at the podium in her cream blazer, a small HOA pin gleaming on her lapel. Behind her, a projector screen shows Civic Eye's logo, a perfect blue eye encircled by the words, "Keeping Neighborhoods Beautiful." She clears her throat. "Recent media coverage has misrepresented our intentions," she says. "The Civic Eye program ensures fairness through data, not prejudice." A murmur ripples through the crowd. Elijah Carter sits in the second row, hands clasped. When she finishes, he stands. "If it's fair," he says, "why does it always land on the same houses?" Margaret smiles thinly. "Because some residents repeatedly ignore the standards." Elijah lifts his folder, each page a violation notice. "For letters in 2 months. My neighbor across the street, 0. We both mow the same grass." Someone claps quietly. Another voice shouts, "Let him talk." Margaret's tone hardens. "Sir, this isn't about race. It's about property value." Elijah meets her eyes. "Property value measured by whose comfort?" The room falls silent. Even the projector hum feels loud. That night, Naomi watches her husband pace the living room. "You shouldn't have confronted her," she says softly. "They'll find another way to punish us." "They already are," Elijah replies. "Every letter, every drone, every quiet neighbor pretending not to notice, that's punishment." Across the street, porch lights flicker. Curtains move. The Carsons, white couple, mid-50s, stare for a second too long before shutting their blinds. Naomi exhales. "I just want Leah safe." Elijah kneels beside her, voice steady but low. Safety without dignity isn't peace. Outside, the wind hums like distant propellers. 3 days later, Amira posts her first story. When AI learns to judge color. Within hours, it trends across local feeds. Screenshots flood Reddit, Twitter, neighborhood apps. One image shows internal Civic Eye documents. Training sample number 233, non-compliant aesthetic. A photo of a dark-skinned family's porch. Another slide lists risk indicators, faded paint / multiple outdoor items / unauthorized murals. Commenters connect dots fast. Murals? Like kids' chalk art? TV vans park by Westbridge's front gate. Reporters knock on doors. Margaret refuses interviews but sends a press release. Civic Eye ensures impartial monitoring. Amira's phone vibrates non-stop. One message chills her. "Unknown number, stop before you ruin good people's reputations." She forwards it to her editor, then to Elijah. "Stay alert," she warns. "Exposure makes people desperate." Elijah nods. So does guilt. Midnight. The hum returns, lower, heavier. Not the drone. An SUV idling outside. Naomi peeks through the blinds. 2 men step out, both wearing navy jackets that read enforcement unit. No city insignia. They approach the porch. One shines a flashlight into the living room window. "Mr. Carter," he calls, "we're here to verify your property images." Just routine. Elijah opens the door halfway, chain still latched. "Show me your credentials." The man lifts a badge, plastic, no hologram. "Don't make this hard, sir." Elijah's tone never rises. "I work with data. I know fake from real." He dials a number. "Dispatch, this is Elijah Carter at 54, Evergreen Lane." 2 unidentified males claiming authority. "I need verification." The men exchange a look, one mutters, "Let's go." They retreat to the SUV, tires spitting gravel. Naomi trembles. "They were watching us." Elijah locks the door, sets his phone down carefully. Now we watch back. By morning, footage from Elijah's doorcam hits social media. Caption: Fake officers confront homeowner after HOA scandal. The clip goes viral. News anchors replay it beside Amira's articles. Civic Eye's stock price dips 12% overnight. A whistleblower thread surfaces, verified Civic Eye employees confirming bias, posting anonymized emails. Margaret Linville requested heightened monitoring on properties with visible flags or non-neutral paint. At noon, city officials announce an emergency hearing. Margaret storms into her office, slamming the door. Inside, she stares at her reflection, immaculate hair, flawless lipstick, and whispers, "All I wanted was order." But order built on silence is a house made of glass. City Hall, Friday morning. Rain streaks the marble steps like thin gray veins. Inside, rows of cameras blink as the Public Oversight Committee convenes. At one table sit Elijah Carter and Amira Gwynn. Across from them, Margaret Linville, rigid in pearl earrings, and Civic Eye's compliance director. Chairperson Dawson adjusts her glasses. This hearing will determine whether Civic Eye's program violated residents' rights. Amira connects her laptop to the projector. The first slide appears. Map A, drone flight frequency. Red clusters bloom over predominantly black neighborhoods. Then Map B, violation distribution. Again, red overlaps red. Madam Chair, Amira says, these aren't coincidences. They're instructions. She clicks again, internal emails, Margaret's request for heightened monitoring of lower aesthetic zones. Margaret's knuckles whiten. Those words were misinterpreted. Elijah leans forward. My daughter drew a purple sky on her driveway. The system called it clutter. Tell me what was misinterpreted about that. The room murmurs. Chair Dawson taps her gavel once. This committee finds substantial evidence of discriminatory data collection and misuse of enforcement authority. Effective immediately, the Civic Eye contract is suspended, pending criminal review. Flashbulbs explode. Margaret lowers her head. Amira exhales. Elijah closes his eyes, whispering, "We're finally seen." 3 nights later, Margaret sits alone in her kitchen, TV light flickering against porcelain plates. News anchors dissect her downfall, HOA president under investigation. The phone rings endlessly, reporters, lawyers, former friends. She lets it buzz. Her reflection in the dark window startles her, the calm mask is gone. She murmurs, "They made me the villain." Then, softer, "Maybe I was." An email notification pings. From Elijah Carter. Mrs. Linville. I don't hate you. I just hope one day you'll understand that order without empathy is just fear wearing nice clothes. She stares at the words until tears fall, leaving small circles on the glass of her tablet. The following Monday, the sky over Westbridge is empty. No buzzing, no blinking red eyes. For the first time in months, Elijah hears only wind and birds. He walks Leah to the bus stop. She looks up, puzzled. "Daddy, where's the flying robot?" Elijah smiles. "Maybe it's taking a break." Naomi watches from the porch, coffee steaming in her hands. Across the street, neighbors pretend to prune bushes, to sweep, anything to look busy while avoiding his gaze. Elijah nods politely anyway. Later, Amira visits with a camera crew. "We're filming a follow-up," she says. "What does peace sound like to you now?" Elijah pauses, then points to the sky. "It sounds like this." The microphone records nothing but air and birdsong. And in that silence, something like justice breathes. A week later, a plain envelope appears in Elijah's mailbox. No logo. No return address. Inside, a short note written in careful cursive. "Mr. Carter. You were right. I let fear guide me. I thought control was safety. It wasn't. The system learned from our blindness. I hope it forgets faster than we do. Signed only, ML." Elijah folds the letter, slides it into a drawer. He doesn't show Naomi, doesn't tell Amira. Some apologies, he thinks, aren't for public record. That night, he stands on the porch again, coffee in hand, flags stirring softly in the breeze. Somewhere down the block, a child laughs, free, unrecorded. And for the first time, Elijah doesn't look over his shoulder. Months pass. Westbridge Heights looks the same, trimmed lawns, painted fences, symmetry everywhere. But underneath the neatness, something subtle has changed. At block meetings, people actually listen. When new families move in, darker, louder, different, no one dares call them non-compliant. Civic Eye rebrands, claims reform, adds human review. But Elijah knows better. Machines don't change until people do. On a clear spring afternoon, Amira returns for one last interview. If you could say one thing to those who built the system, she asks, what would it be? Elijah looks past the camera, eyes on the horizon where the sky fades from blue to gold. I'd tell them data isn't truth, he says. It's a reflection, and reflections are only as honest as the light that hits them. The camera lingers on his face as he adds, and sometimes, truth has a color. Fade out. Then the sound of a child laughing, a flag fluttering, and a line of text. When power forgets empathy, dignity becomes resistance. If you stayed till the end, remember. Character isn't proven by comfort, but by what you do when the world watches in silence. This is how change begins.